Hey everybody, welcome back to another video on the channel. In today's video we're going to be talking about Xbox Series X and the latest information that Microsoft has announced for it. Before we get into today's video, I want to remind you guys to subscribe to the channel if you're not already, that you guys don't miss out on any of the latest and greatest Xbox Series X, PlayStation 5, and any other videos I post here on the channel. We've got a lot of great content, and this is the year, guys. This is the year when the Xbox Series X is finally revealed, and all the specs and everything, and when it releases to you, same with the PlayStation 5. So make sure you guys are subscribed. But let's get into this. So Microsoft has announced that the Xbox Series X will not have any exclusive games for 2 years. So what that means is that any single game that comes out for Xbox, or the Xbox Series X for the next 2 years, so until 2022, will also have to be developed for and have to run on the Xbox One, the Xbox One S, and the Xbox One X. Now, that in and of itself isn't necessarily a bad thing, but you know, there's definitely two sides to this thing. So I'm going to be trying to play devil's advocate here and why this is a good thing and also why this is a bad thing too. So first off, let's start out with why this is a good thing. So this is a good move for the consumer because not everybody is going to upgrade to an Xbox Series X on day one. There's not going to be, I would say, even 10 million people would be my guess buying it day one. There's going to be probably like significantly less than that. That's only going to be like the hardcore fans buying it day one. I'm sure there's going to be, you know, millions of people still getting the console day one and for Christmas this year, and there'll be millions of players. But it's going to take a while to get that same adoption rate that the Xbox One has right now. I mean, it has taken us 7 years to get to this point with the Xbox One, and it's probably going to take, you know, around the same amount of time to get there with the Xbox Series X. So for those people who aren't going to be getting an Xbox Series X right away, this could be a good thing for them because this means that there aren't going to be any game experiences that they're going to miss out on. So as long as they have an Xbox One, One S, or One X, then they can play the games. So like Halo Infinite, you can play that on your Xbox One, your Xbox One S, or your Xbox One X. You'll be able to play it on there. It's not an Xbox Series X exclusive, so I think that's definitely a good thing. A lot of people won't be upgrading right away, but they'll still be able to play those same experiences. And, I mean, who wouldn't want that? Like, who wouldn't want you to be able to play same games as anybody else? It's also going to be, like, cross-platform stuff, too. So, like, if you have a friend who has an Xbox Series X, you're still going to be able to hop in a multiplayer together, play through that, play through single-player games together, and, you know, do tons of stuff like that. Like, there's tons of stuff you can still do, you know, between console generations. Like, it's going to be the same account, same Xbox account, same games, all this sorts of stuff. But now we're going to start kind of going into the negatives of this, the downside to this, because, I mean, ultimately, there's only one upside to this, and that's that, yeah, for the average gamer, like, you can still play games for the foreseeable future. Like, there won't be any exclusive games that you're going to miss out on that are going to force you to upgrade, but that could also be a bad thing, and that's what we're going to talk about. So, this could be a bad thing because the Xbox One compared to the Xbox Series X, not the Xbox One X, but the original Xbox One from back in 2013, is seriously like such a dramatic difference between the Xbox One and the Xbox Series X. There's such a huge hardware like jump there. This is going to be a true generational leap where we're finally going to be getting off those AMD Jaguar cores. Those are like mobile cores all the way to a full fat like desktop cores from Zen 2 from AMD. Like these are going to be like cores that you can literally get. Like you can get like a 3800X right now and you can have those cores in your PC today. So it's going to be much more powerful, but more importantly than that, since it's going to be like really close to a PC, it's going to be very easy to develop for. You know, you're not going to have to like do things specifically for a Jaguar CPU, for a mobile CPU that they ended up making work for a console. Instead, you're now designing it for a desktop CPU, which is basically what they developed for already. So it'll be a lot easier to develop games, but the issue arises in the fact that Microsoft is going to be forcing developers to also make their games work on older systems. So it's not going to be as simple as just, oh, the Xbox One version is going to look worse. I mean, obviously it's going to look worse. There's going to be like graphical differences between it. The original Xbox One won't be able to output Halo Infinite at 4K, whereas the Xbox Series X definitely will. It'll be able to pump that game out at 4K, and it'll be all good. So it's not just down to the fact that games are going to look worse on the older platforms, but the developers have to make sure that, one, they run it all. So instead of developing for the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5 and PC, just 3 systems, now they also have to develop for those 3 systems, plus the Xbox One X, Xbox One S, and the Xbox One. So they're going to have to make sure that all those platforms work well and that aren't like game breaking, because obviously if you're going to sell a game to somebody who's on an Xbox One, the game at least has to run. You know, you can't just sell them an unfinished product. Like, that's totally BS, and you can't do that. So it'll increase development time because developers are going to have to spend time developing for these older systems. Or, if you guys remember what happened at the beginning of this generation, is that a lot of game studios actually had third-party studios that had smaller studios actually port the game from this current gen to last gen. So a couple examples of this are like Titanfall 2, Black Ops 3 was a big one. I mean, that I think is one of the biggest examples of a last gen game versus like a current gen game, is that that game was obviously built for current gen. That was built for the Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC. But then they also wanted to make it run on the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, but those systems are so much weaker than even the Xbox One and PS4, so they had to cut a lot of content out of it. So they had to remove the campaign mode like altogether. There was even a bunch of maps and stuff that weren't released on the Xbox 360 and PS3 for zombies and stuff. There was a lot of content in that just wasn't there, that was on the current gen, that wasn't there on last gen. Now here's the difference, is that yeah, that was like a crappy, terrible port, and it ran like crap on the 360 and on the PS3, but the difference there is that that one was like a port of the game, whereas the Xbox One and the Xbox Series X ones, like the difference here is that since their games can't be exclusive, there could be a point made that they aren't going to be able to do that. So if the campaign can't run on the Xbox One, like how the Black Ops 3 campaign could not run on the Xbox 360, well then they've got to do something to make it able to run, or else they can't have it on the Xbox Series X. So if there's a specific feature or a specific game element that works on the Xbox Series X and that's what it's designed for, but they can't get it to work on the original Xbox One, then there's room here, like with Microsoft saying that, you know, all games have to run on all platforms like this, that you can't have any exclusive features, that you can't have, you know, a campaign mode be exclusive to Xbox Series X, or at least allegedly. It hasn't been officially confirmed. There's not many details other than the fact that Microsoft just says, hey, this is what's going on. There's not going to be any exclusive games for 2 years on this system. So that implies that there'll also be no game exclusive experiences too. Now this is a bad thing because this also holds back developers. So rather than developers taking advantage of this console like wholeheartedly from day one, developing games specifically for this system to take advantage of these 8 Zen 2 CPU cores, this alleged 12 teraflop GPU, this SSD inside of it, like 16 gigabytes of RAM, so taking advantage of this like brand new next generation hardware. Now they're going to have to go, okay, well, the Xbox One back from 2013 is now our base target. That's what we're going to have to make the game run on, and then we're going to have to do improvements and enhancements on the consoles after that. Now, this hasn't necessarily been a problem for like things for the Xbox One X. So we've had a lot of games like that, like Halo 5, as you guys are seeing in the background here. Like this originally came out on the Xbox One, but they provided an Xbox One X enhancement patch, which made it run at 4K, so it's a lot better visuals. But other than that, I mean, it's the same game. It plays the same. There's the exact same content. So it's going to be like that, I guess. So there's going to be the same amount of content on all platforms, but this still limits developers here. There's still content the developers won't be able to like actually produce for their system because they're going to have to target the base Xbox One. So this will hold developers back from creating like actual true next-gen experiences, which also might hinder Microsoft in the console war or in sales and stuff, because Sony hasn't said anything about whether or not they're going to restrict developers to having, you know, PlayStation 5 exclusive games. Like you can't have any of those within the first 2 years. Sony hasn't said that. So potentially Sony could, you know, as soon as the PlayStation 5 launches, they can have PlayStation 5 exclusive games, which take advantage of the all new hardware, have experiences that just weren't possible on the PlayStation 4. And that would be huge for Sony and for the PlayStation 5, because if you have a game that has all these new revolutionary experiences, so I guess, for example, could be like a 400-player Battle Royale on PlayStation 5, but since the Xbox Series X still has to make sure that the Xbox One can run these games, maybe you only have a 100-player Battle Royale. So game experiences like that, like think about that. If you have, you know, this new console, the PlayStation 5, that has all these new experiences that the Xbox Series X can't deliver. Like, even though the Xbox Series X is allegedly supposed to be more powerful, it's going to be restricted by the original Xbox One. Even though it's more powerful, it won't mean anything because it's still going to have to target that base hardware from back in 2013. But I've been thinking about this for a couple of days now, trying to like really come up with my own opinion about this and whether or not I think this is a bad thing. And a thought I did have about this is a lot of games right off the bat won't be actually targeting Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5. I would be very, very surprised to see if there was any games that actually were exclusive within, I don't know, even the first year. Like, it would honestly surprise me a lot because, one, that's like pretty bold for them, for developers to be specifically targeting hardware that they didn't even know about until, I mean, I don't know, the last 6 months is when hardware has pretty much been set in stone. So they've been developing these games for hardware they didn't even know about, really. And for them to like hurry and turn around and make a game off that. And two, because that would really limit their sales if they released it only on PlayStation 5, only on Xbox Series X. Rather than a lot of games, you know, they could at least double dip and get more sales. They can release it on the Xbox One, the Xbox Series X, the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, PC. And you're going to have, you know, you got like over 100 million players and users on the PlayStation 4. So how are you going to just abandon like over 100 million potential customers just so that way you can have a PlayStation 5 exclusive game? Like, at most, you're probably going to get maybe like 10 million players on the PlayStation 5, like right out the gate. And you're going to be marketing to 10 million people rather than 100 million? Like, I'm sorry, that just doesn't make any sense. No developer is going to be doing that. So my guess is within the first year, at least, we're going to have tons of cross-gen games. So games that are releasing on the PS4 and the PlayStation 5. So I guess an example of this would be like Last of Us 2. It's going to release on the PlayStation 4. And I'm assuming they're probably either going to put out an enhancement patch or they're going to come out with the game again on PlayStation 5. Just like how they did Last of Us 1 came out on PlayStation 3. And they did Last of Us, was it remastered on the PlayStation 4? They did like an enhanced PlayStation 4 version of it. So it took advantage of the new hardware. So I'm assuming that's probably what they're going to do. But within the first year, dude, there's going to be, I would assume, like almost no exclusive games for the Xbox Series X or the PlayStation 5. But I think the real problem really comes down to year 2. Because once year 2 starts in 2022 or 2021, like by then the console will have been already out for a year, approaching 2 years. Now this is when we're probably going to start approaching games that will be targeting this next generation of consoles for sure. But if they still have to develop games for the older systems, that's when it's going to hold them back. I don't think that anything will be held back, at least for the first year, but I think the second year could actually spell some trouble. So I think Microsoft should reevaluate this decision and potentially have it just be for a year. If they just have it a year where there's no Xbox Series X exclusivity, I think that'd be fine, because that's one that doesn't limit like developers from creating any different experiences for their consoles and for their games, so they don't have to worry about that. But by year 2, you also give, you know, your customers over a year to be able to purchase the Xbox Series X, and you can do different discounts and promotions and different stuff. But also by year 2, you can actually have games that really take advantage of the Xbox Series X, and that's how one way they could promote it too. They're like, hey, here is what Xbox Series X games are really about. Here is our flagship game that really shows this console's power. Like, I feel like Halo 5 was that for the Xbox One. That was Microsoft's like, okay, here is what the Xbox One can do. Okay, you guys saw Halo 4 and the Xbox 360. Okay, here is what Halo is on the Xbox One. And it looked so much better. I mean, performed better at 60 FPS, like great upgrade, and was definitely like a next generation leap. So I feel like with the second year, we're going to start to be able to get that. And I think that like we need that. Microsoft really needs to go back and evaluate it. 1 year, I think, is okay. 2 years, I think, is stretching it. I'm glad it's not a 3-year thing. I feel like even 2 years might be a little too much, but I could see them getting away with 2 years of no exclusivity. But ultimately, there will become a point, whether it's a year down the line, 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line, where there will be games that are 100% going to be restricted because of the original Xbox One. Like, in 2 years, we're almost approaching the 10th anniversary of the Xbox One. Like, we have, what, like 3 years until the Xbox One turns 10 years old. So if they have to support the Xbox One for an extra 2 years, the Xbox One's gonna basically be 10 years old by the time it's finally like retired. Finally, like games are not going to be made specifically for that console anymore. They're gonna be only made for like the next generation version of it. So overall, guys, I think that this isn't necessarily a bad move. I think it's a bold move to include a lot of your customers in on these games, but I think at the same time they're forcing the hand of developers and publishers and basically making that decision for them of who they want to release this game for, how many customers they want to be able to attract, and also what game experiences they can make. And I don't think that's a great thing, but I think they could get away with it for a year, but I feel like after a year, that's when it starts getting to a real slippery slope. So I do hope that Microsoft actually updates this. They put out something like, hey, this might change, but just so you know, 2 years is what we're shooting for. If it comes down to it, we could break it down to a year where we're going to have no exclusives. I would like that, and I would also like Sony to come out and have a statement about this too. Even if they come out and they say, and they like try and clown on Microsoft, and they're like, we will have exclusive games from day one, don't worry about it, like we're going to be able to fully deliver the power of the PlayStation 5. Like even if they came out and like tried to clown on Microsoft, then I think that'd be okay as long as we get a statement from Sony. But yeah, guys, what do you guys think about this? What do you guys think about Microsoft not allowing any Xbox Series X exclusive games for 2 years? I think this, I mean, it could be a dangerous and slippery slope, but at the same time, it could be good for people who aren't going to be buying an Xbox Series X from day one or even within the first year or two. So, what do you guys think about this? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys next time.